back. There's some technical difficulties, but that's okay. Give them a second. Alright, so we're going to be in the book of Acts, chapter 9 tonight, and tonight marks a kind of a special day for my preaching. Mark's now a year since Pastor has let me come up and preach. Amen. And first time I came up and preached, I had staples in my head. That was a fun time, getting in a car accident with a friend who doesn't know how to drive, but that's okay. I'm perfectly fine. I look a lot better. I used to wear these big, huge goggles so I could make sure Mr. Carroll didn't fall asleep on me when I preach. But, it's been great. This year of preaching to the adults, it's been fun. And I plan on continuing it for many other years and stuff. And, also preach to the teens, which hopefully I'll have more opportunities to do that as well. And it's just been an amazing time to see what God has been able to do with me and letting me preach, not just only to you guys, but also to the teens, and also the times that Mr. Carroll and Mrs. Pierce had me to preach at chapel. It's just been an awesome time, and it just really shows that God's working, and I thank Him for it every night. And when I go to bed, I just pray to Him for at least 20 minutes of this, thanking Him for everything. But I want to be here without Him, and I'm thankful for that. Amen. So the title of tonight's message is God Getting People's Attention. I can remember when God first got my attention when I was deep in sin. And tonight we're going to be looking over at three things about it. And the first point is God getting the unbeliever's attention. The second, the believer's attention. And third, how each should respond to God working and getting our attention. So we're going to read a familiar story here in Acts chapter 9. And we're going to have a lot to read, but that'll be okay because it has the unbeliever's standpoint of why God gets their attention. So verse 1 says, "And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest, and desired of him letters to Damascus to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven. And he fell to the earth, and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, Who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what wilt thou have me to do? The Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the city, and it shall be told thee what thou must do. And the men which journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing the voice, but seeing no man. And Saul rose from the earth, and when his eyes were opened, he saw no man. For they led him by the hand and brought him to Damascus. And it was 3 days without sight, and neither did eat nor drink. And there was a certain disciple of Damascus named Ananias, and to him said the Lord in a vision, Ananias. And he said, Behold, I am here, Lord. And the Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the street, which is called Straight, and inquire into the house of Judas, for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth. And I seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in, and putting his hand on him, that he might receive his sight. And Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he hath done to thy saints at Jerusalem. And here you have authority from the chief priest to bind all that call thy name. The Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me, to hear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. For I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake. And Ananias went his way and entered into the house. And putting his hand on him, said, Brother Saul, the Lord, even Jesus, that appeared unto thee in the way as thou camest, hath sent me, that thou mightest receive thy sight and be filled with the Holy Ghost. And immediately there fell from his eyes that it has been scales, and he received sight, forthwith and arose, and he was baptized. And when he had received meat, he was strengthened, and was Saul certain days with the disciples which were at Damascus. And straightway he preached Christ in the synagogues, that he is the Son of God. While that heard him were amazed, and said, Is not this he that destroyed them, which called on this name of Jerusalem, and came hither for that intent, that he might bring them bound unto the chief priests? But Saul increased the more in strength, and confounded the Jews which dwelt at Damascus, proving that this is very Christ. And after that many days were fulfilled, the Jews took counsel to kill him. So let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear God, thank you for this day, and thank you for allowing me to preach again, God. And it's a blessing to even be up here and preach to the adults, God. And I just ask that you give me the unction to preach the words that you have me to say, God, fill me with your Holy Spirit, and just bless this message and use it how you need it, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
So there's an old story, some of you may know about it. It's about a farmer and his donkey. And the farmer was selling his donkey, and he said that this donkey will do anything. So the prospect buyer says, show me. So what the farmer does, he picks up a 2x4, lines it up, and whacks the donkey right in between the eyes. The donkey, is falling back, and it's like, just got smacked in the face by a 2x4. And the buyer's like, what did you do that for? And the farmer's like, I had to get his attention first. You see, we're going to illustrate this real quick. The farmer is God and we're the donkey. See, a donkey is a very stubborn animal. For a farmer to say, this donkey would do anything I say, sounds like a big lie. I'm pretty sure if I came up to you and said, I have a donkey, and it'll come to me if I say, come here, and it'll do a backflip and stuff. If I tell it to do a backflip, you're going to look at me like I'm crazy. But, we're the donkey. God many times will say for us to do something, we won't do it because how stubborn we are. So the thing is, God has to get our attention for us to do what he wants us to do. And, a lot of times it takes him more than one time to get either the unbeliever's attention or our attention. So the first point is the unbeliever. We see here in the book of Acts chapter 9 of a man named Saul, who later down in the Bible he becomes Paul. He was a murderer. He went around killing a bunch of the Christians who went ahead and said, we believe in Jesus Christ, and he is the Savior, he is the Messiah. And Saul, of course, being of the Jews and who hated the Christians, went about and killed them. He dragged them down the street and stuff and had them killed. Why would God get the attention of a person who is killing his children? Why would he get his attention for him to do something so great that no other missionary has been able to do? Because, in my opinion, I think Paul is probably the greatest missionary to ever walk this earth. Why would God take a man like him and take out of God's own time, God could probably handle other things, but instead he got the attention of a murderer? We look in the book of Exodus. You don't have to turn there. We see the story of Moses in the burning bush. Moses was a murderer and also an idolater. Remember, he was of the Egyptians, and they worshipped many, many gods. And here it is, Moses sees this burning bush that's not being consumed by fire. Moses goes over to it, and God says, take off your shoes, you're on holy ground. And Moses takes off his shoes, and the bush, aka God, says, I want you to deliver my people out of Egypt. And we're going to get into the responses of these two people later on. But you see here, God is getting the attention of the unbeliever to fulfill his will. I know many unbelievers in my life, a year and a half of, now going on 2 years of I guess you can say, better off than what I was. I'm in the Bible, I'm studying his word, I'm trying to be like as much as Christ as I possibly can. I ask God every day to mold me and make me the way that he wants me to be. And I look at some of my friends, and I look at some people that I know who are not right with God. I know people who are not saved, and I can think of one right off the bat. I'm not going to say his name or anything, but I can remember conversations with him, and I examined 3 things from him why the unbelievers don't get saved. And even though God's getting their attention, they won't get saved. And it's hard for me to believe that because, me as a little 6-year-old boy who sat in a first grade classroom, hearing the story of the rich man and Lazarus, I came to the conclusion that I need a Savior and I'm a sinner. I do not want to go to that place the rich man went to. And it's hard for me to take it, to believe. Why don't you not accept the free gift that guarantees you salvation and on your way to heaven? But here's the 3 things that I found out. The first thing is that they can't grasp the fact that God will save them because of all the wrong they have done. I talked to them, I said, hey, look, Jesus is here to save you. He died on the cross for you so you can go to heaven and then do things in his name because, once you get saved, you basically give your life over to Christ and, take a little bit of time out of your life and do what he wants. And he said to me, he said, if you would know what I've done, Jesus wouldn't save me. And I could tell him a story of Paul and say, hey, look, this man killed more people than you could think of. You could look in the story of Moses, an idolater, a murderer. You could look at many accounts, and you could even look at the man named David Berkowitz, a serial killer, and God was able to save him. What makes you so evil? And he just says to me, well, I just can't. He's like, I've done so much wrong. Which came up to the second thing is that he wouldn't get saved because of the pressure of the world. What the world thinks about him. What his friends think about him. And what his friends think that he should be in their own eyes and not what he should be in God's eyes. I remember asking him, like, so what makes you think you've done so much wrong? He's like, I don't really think it's that anymore after what you told me about, Paul and all that. He's like, I just wonder what my friends would think of me, man. He's like, I won't be able to do drugs with them anymore and stuff, and all this and that, and I might lose a lot of friends. And I said, so what? Yeah. One of the biggest things I had to struggle with when changing my life around and getting into this and coming up here and preach is I had to get rid of some friends. And I told them, listen, don't worry about the world things, okay? Because sooner or later the world is going to be destroyed, okay? No one cares what the world thinks. We should care about what God thinks, and that's it. And he says to me, he's like, Chris, you just don't understand, man. He's like, it's just crazy. I can't believe in this, and I because of my friends, they're going to make fun of me. I'm like, who cares? And I told him many stories of how, of just accounts that you could just read of people, who have done so much wrong, who have given up basically all their friends so they could have a relationship with God. And so as I was talking to him, I began to ask him, what are your beliefs? And he's an evolutionist. He believes in evolution. I said, okay. So now he's also getting the pressure from the school systems, from many quote-unquote worldly great people like Richard Dawkins and so on and so forth. He begins to tell me that, he's like, these people right here said that God isn't real, and these people have, their doctor's degrees in all these, different fields and stuff, and he's like, they say God isn't real, and you're telling me that God isn't real. I'm going to take their advice more than your advice. And I said to him, and I showed him a video about how science is actually proving God instead of disproving God. And how if you look into the DNA and how complex it is, and if you look into astronomy and all the different billions upon billions upon billions of galaxies there are, and how basically they have found out that time, that the universe had a beginning, and it wasn't due to a cosmic explosion, because for that to happen to be just as much as what a nuclear bomb would do. So they wouldn't have created anything, it would have just destroyed stuff. And he's like, and they're seeing now in astronomy and in DNA is that there had been a creator. Yeah. And I explained this to him, and he says, you obviously know more than what I do. He's like, and this came up to the third point. He just didn't believe in a higher power. So you go through those two steps with him, and then he finally admits, okay, I just don't believe that there's a God. So now you hit a roadblock here. You hit this big, huge roadblock with the unbeliever. God's using you to get his attention, and hopefully that God will be able to save him when he calls upon his name. Yeah. And God is just using me, and I just know he is, because I'm just getting all these answers and things off the top of my head that I don't have to think of, because God's working, and he's trying to get his attention. And he says to me, I just simply don't believe in God. And it hurt me. I was heartbroken. One of my friends, because I know where they're going, they happen to die anytime soon. And I was going after him. I said, come on, man. There's proof of God. There's proof everywhere. And I showed him, and he's just, not believing. That's fine. I had to back off, and before, things turned into a yelling match, I backed off, and now I left it in God's hands. Amen. And out of the three things I just mentioned, God can himself get their attention like he did with Saul here. God didn't have a person come up to him and get his attention. God came up to Saul in a bright light and blinded him and said, why are you persecuting me, Saul? What are you doing? I am the Almighty God, and you're persecuting my people. Why? So, for the first thing, I believe that God uses, for the first issue that they can't grasp, that God will save them after they have done wrong. I believe God will allow a very godly friend to come into their life to get their attention. A person who shows them tons of mercy and grace and forgiveness and shows compassion on them like no other person has. You'll be surprised what one person can do in a person's life, how God will use them. And just a little bit of compassion could change someone's life because their family never showed them compassion. Their family was always selfish and didn't care about how their own son felt. So they turn to the drugs, they turn to the alcohol, they become abusive. Then he goes off of his mom, and his mom gets him on drugs. You'd be surprised what a little bit of compassion, godly compassion, would do to a guy who has never felt true compassion. So God may get his attention through a godly friend who shows him the compassion. The second thing that God may bring into their life is by getting to this person's attention by making this person lose his worldly friends. Remember the second issue that came up that I examined was that the worldly friends pressure him into not believing that there's a God. And that the world itself also pressures you through the big names of science, the religion of science, and pressuring the fact that God isn't real. So God may get their attention by making them lose his worldly friends for some reason. I've had a friend recently who has no friends really, maybe 2 friends at most. All of her other friends have left her because she simply won't show them her body. It's funny to me how quick the world will leave you once you don't give them what they want. And a lot of times it's a sinful desire that they want. And God may take them out of your life so you can realize something. Hey, these friends right here, they're my children. I'm working in them. These are the friends that you ought to have, and not the friends of destruction. So God may use people like us to get their attention, once again. Getting rid of the worldly people. And let me tell you something. I've seen more influence from the worldly side than the Christian side when someone has more worldly friends than Christian friends. Yeah. Another friend that I have, he was getting right with God, and all of a sudden he started hanging out with a couple of worldly people, and he's back doing what he was trying to change from. And he was coming to church, and then he suddenly stopped. Why? Because the worldly influence pressured him otherwise. And he was unequally yoked. So the third issue that God may bring is simply for them to believe. It could be trials and tribulations. He can bring ways to take away blessings and humble that person to the point where he's like, okay, God, I get it. You're real. Okay, God, I get it. God has done it many times with a lot of people. David Berkowitz, he humbled him. Finally, a serial killer cash thrown into prison. And God decided a simple old Baptist preacher come up to him and humbled him and said, okay, God, you got my attention. I get it. You're real. I accept you. But sometimes for an unbeliever, even when God does get their attention, they don't answer the right way, as we'll get into the third point later on. But you see, we're on the right path to get these unbelievers' attention, to let God work through us so we can get their attention so they don't go to hell. If we want revival in this country, if we want revival, it starts with us. Just a person. I'm not talking about the church, I'm talking about the person. So for the church to start going, you see, I kind of picture it like a car. The person is the fuel and the oil. The church is the engine, and the car is the country. The engine's not going to run without the fuel, and the car's not going to run without the engine. So once you have the fuel and the oil working and the engine working, that car is going to start moving. So before we can start saying this country needs a revival, each individual needs to have a revival. And that means the unbelievers, us, we need to start getting a hold of them. But now it comes to the second one, how God gets our attention. Because there's some believers, Charles Spurgeon kind of puts it like this: they stain the honor of God. They call themselves Christians, they proclaim themselves as the big name Christian. Yes, I'm saved, I believe in God, I am a Christian. But yet their life shows them as the normal world. And they stay in the honor of God because of it. I've had one friend in particular. This person is not on the right path of God at all. Way backslidden, but they'll still stand up and proclaim themselves as a Christian as the world watches them and say, "You're a Christian? You're a Christian? Why would I want to believe in that if you just act the same way we do when your book tells you not to act that way?" You see how it stains God? You see how it stains His honor? And do you expect God just to stand around and say, "Do what you want"? No. God's going to sooner or later say, "Hey, what's going on?" So there's another two stories I want to bring up, and the first one is the story of Jonah. Jonah, being a prophet, was called to go to Nineveh and sit and preach basically Jesus in a way at that time. And he said to God, "No, I'm not going to Nineveh. No." And Jonah decided he wanted to do his own thing, and run away from God. Did God just sit back and say, "Okay, run away"? No, he had a whale swallow him up. Got his attention. And then Jonah's response, we'll get into the third point sooner or later. God got his attention because he said, "Listen, you're not going to stray away from me. You're my child. You have a job to do, and you're going to do it." Many Christians today, God may be putting them through so many trials and tribulations, trying to get their attention, taking away blessings, and they're wondering why their life is crumbling. But yet, they look in their own life and they don't have God like they say they do. And they're standing in His honor, and God's trying to say, "Where are you at? Where are you at? You're not on my path. Why are you going left instead of right? What are you doing?" We see another account in the Bible where God has to get His believers' attention, his I guess you could say, workers' attention, is in 1 Kings, with the story of Elijah. Elijah just got done defeating the prophets of Baal. He just got done, basically, first things first, mocking the prophets of Baal and saying, "Where's the fire?" And they're just cutting themselves and they're bleeding everywhere. It's just basically just a big old mess. And Elijah is standing there probably laughing, making jokes. And the next thing Elijah makes his altar and dumps all this water on it and prays God. Next boom, and the whole thing is consumed. But then Jezebel, of course, she gets mad about it and she's like, "I'm going to kill you." What does Elijah do? He runs. He runs away. And he starts doing his own thing, basically. He says, God, she says she's going to kill me. I'm done. I'm running. Did God just once again sit back and say, "Oh, there he goes. Nothing I can do now. Oh, well, looks like that's done with." No, God approached him in a whirlwind and said, "Get up. Get back out there and do what I have you to do. What are you doing? Why are you so afraid? Do you not see my hand of protection over you with the prophets of Baal? And they could have easily just came over and killed you. And you think just because a queen named Jezebel said, 'I'm going to kill you,' you think she's actually going to do it? No. Get up and do the job I have you to do." And see, that's basically like us in our life. There's one time in our life we come down to the altar, we go up to the pastor, shake his hand, and say, "I came to salvation. I accepted Christ into our heart." Then a month later, they're back doing what they were doing. Or there's times when the believer will be sitting maybe in a summer camp, or maybe it's just in a big, huge revival, and God grabs a hold of a heart to be a missionary. He come down to the altar and get the pastor's hand and say, "God has called me to be a missionary." The church rejoices. A month later, they're off doing what they were just doing, what they just confessed, what they just repented of. And God has a job for them to do, and they're not willing to do it. And you see, here's the difference between us and unbelievers. See, a certain time in an unbeliever's life, God's going to give them over to a reprobate mindset. With the believers, God's going to keep trying to get our attention over and over again until we finally say, "Fine, I'll do it." He did it with my life. A 12-year-old boy at the Wilds get called to preach, and then basically for the next about 4 years just doing whatever I want. God starts bringing trials and tribulations into my life. trying to get my attention, and I'm just saying, whatever. Just ignoring it, and then more things come into my life, and it keeps adding up, and finally I say, fine. I'll change my life around. I'll start preaching your word. So, how does God get the believer's attention? Simply by trials and tribulations. Simply by trying to humble back that person, getting them to the point of, basically you could say, a second salvation. There's a lot of people that I could think of where God has been able to grab a hold of them and say, stop, get back on my path, and let's get this job done. So now we're going to come up to the response here. So God gets our attention whether we're unbeliever or believer. So now, what do we do? How should we respond to God when He's trying to get our attention? We see in the 4 stories I mentioned throughout this sermon that all 4 of them had a response. For the first 2, between Saul and Moses, they answered by saying, okay, God, and got up and did the job. Saul went out and became, of course his name changed to Paul, signifying that he is a changed person. He's a different person than what he used to be, and became the greatest missionary of all time. Then we have Moses. After this, he got up, he went to Pharaoh and he said, give me my people. We need to go. And what did Moses do? He delivered the Jewish people out of Egypt. The believers with Jonah. Jonah went to Nineveh, and God was able to basically not wipe out the city because enough of them got saved. And if Jonah would have just responded, God, you put me in a well, what do you think that's going to do? Change my mind? Nah, I'm not doing it. Next thing you know, God would have destroyed Nineveh as well. But because Jonah answered the way he did, the whole city was saved. We look at Elijah. Elijah, when God appeared to him in a whirlwind, he didn't say, oh, that's cool, God, but I'm still not doing it. She's a crazy woman. She's going to kill me. No, Elijah got up and finished the job, didn't he? Yeah. Christian, you all have a job. If you're a Christian in here, there's a will that God has you to do. And you need to get it done. And maybe some of you in here are not on the right path. Okay? That's normal. All Christians sooner or later stray off the path of God. Okay? It's fine. Listen, you're saved. There's a chance for you to get back on this path and get the job done. Maybe God tonight is using this message to get your attention. Maybe God's saying, look, maybe I want you to do something so small as maybe helping your next door neighbor with something. Or maybe something big of, maybe He wants you to get into the ministry and start, proclaiming the name of God. Maybe behind the pulpit or going to another country. Or maybe becoming an evangelist and going around to many churches and proclaiming the name of Christ. But here's the thing. How are you responding to it? Are you saying to God, shrugging Him off and saying, no, I'm going to do my own thing? Or maybe tonight's the night where you say, okay, you got my attention. It's time for me to change my life around and get the job done. And maybe there's an unbeliever in here. You're struggling with the fact that, maybe there is God, maybe there's not. Is Christianity actually a loving belief? Because, the world is pressuring you, you have friends telling you, and all this, and maybe you think you've done so much wrong that God can't save you. And maybe tonight God is grabbing a hold of your heart and He's saying, please, I beg of you before tonight's over, accept me. Please. You do not know the doom that's about to come later in your life when you die and you do not accept me. I'm going to talk to an unbeliever real quick. I don't know who in here is an unbeliever, but if there is one in here, listen to me. When you walk out those doors tonight, who knows what's going to happen? The world's crazy. People drive crazy. You don't know what's going to happen. It may be a little car accident on the way home ends your life. And you wake up in a place that you never thought you'd wake up in. You wake up in hell. And maybe in hell you think of the sermon that you just heard about God trying to get your attention and trying to get you saved. And you just shrugged it off like you did every other sermon. Make tonight where you respond and say, God, I accept you into my heart. God, change me and save me. and make me different from the world. Believers, you have a job. Accept the fact that God has a will for you to do. Stop doing what you want to do, all because you're saved and you think that, oh, I'm saved now, yippee. I can just live like the way I please. If I die, I go to heaven. And, life is great now. I can do whatever I want, party, and do things like the world's doing, but, if I die from it, I'll go to heaven. Stop with that mindset. Stop with it. You're going to get no blessing when you go to heaven. You're going to just enter in with the skin of your teeth. What's so great about that? You're just going to be basically a peasant in heaven, basically. While a lot of his other children are having all these rewards and everything, you're just sitting there with this little ribbon saying, I got saved. Listen, God has called you to do something. I don't know what it is. I'm not God. And he's wanting you to do something, but you're so far off this path. Maybe tonight's the night where you need to come down to this altar and fix some things. And say, God, I got you. I'll do it. I know my life isn't what a Christian should be. And I've been standing here on it. But God, tonight I want to make sure the name Christian is actually used properly by making it Christ-like. Amen. So if heads, bows, and eyes closed. How many of you in here can say, God has a hold of my heart. I need to get right back on the right path and start doing the job that he wants me to do. God has a hold of me. Can anyone just raise your hand and say simply, that's me. God has a hold of my heart tonight. Listen, when the music starts playing, we have a thing called an altar. Just come down here and just lay it all out to God. Lay your burdens on this altar and get back on the right path and get the job done. Now, how many of you in here can say, Chris, listen, I don't feel like I'm saved, I feel like I never accepted Christ. Well, listen, God's got your attention tonight, and do not walk out of this building without knowing salvation. Grab a hold of Pastor's hand, Mr. Carroll's hand, or even my hand, and accept God into your heart tonight. Do not let this be a night of just a normal sermon and you just shrug it off. So I'm going to end this with a word of prayer, and we're going to hear music by Mrs. Camboni. And if God's letting you come down to this altar and get some things right for you tonight. Dear God, thank you for today, and God, thank you for allowing me to preach. And God, however you're using this message and how you're using the Holy Spirit to work through hearts tonight with it, God, I pray that someone in here that isn't on your path, you get them back on it. That they may be able to do things so unbelievably great that they couldn't even imagine because they did what you wanted them to do. And God, I pray if someone in here is not saved, you work so hard in their hearts tonight that they will not even be able to go to sleep until they accept you, God. God, we love you and we thank you for all that you do. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen.